makes um, an argument on the archaeology of the future, because architecture, archaeology, atmosphere, and art are multiple A's that are open different disciplines and different scales. And this is what draws the dynamics of Lina Ghotmeh architecture. This fantastic firm, it is highly acclaimed and critically renowned in the world. And it is an international firm of architects, designers, and researchers based in Paris with a multidisciplinary approach. The key word in this company, it's the belief in research, the attention to the existing, the subtlety of understanding nature, and also the pleasure of working together. Lina Ghotmeh architecture design are ecologically and sustainably. The project drive their aesthetics from their close and intimate relationship with nature, and they also express the essence of the materials from which they are fashioned. The firm's upcoming project includes an environmentally conscious 14-story wooden tower in Paris, a call for projects with an innovative urban vision, stone garden art foundation, and greenhousing tower in Beirut, and an interior renovation of Palais de Tokyo restaurants in Paris. These are only to name a few of the firm interests, accomplishments, design, and research territories. It is my fantastic pleasure to leave the screen and to open the soul to Lina Ghotmeh.
Thank you very much. Thank you for such an introduction. I'm very happy to be among you. Thank you for reading so well our objective of work, and I'm really happy to be among you here presenting some projects of the office. I hope you're seeing my screen at the moment, or I will just try to connect to be able to have the control over the slide. I hope next time we will be able to be together and be able to present. Okay, now I have it. Okay. So thank you also for thinking about how to basically think of advanced architecture today, where we are facing a lot of challenges in our world, whether the COVID crisis or the climate change, and that puts us as architects into thinking and reflecting on our space and built environment. And my office is in the 11th in Paris, and one of the essence of our work is to question every time we have a new project, to question how we design and to make it like a search adventure more than just imposing building into its site. So every time we have a new project, it's really about digging and finding an emergence that linked to its ground, to its environment, that questions the origin of spaces and tries to kind of reinvent the typology and the spaces into ones that dialogue with the people around and with the context in which we are putting our architecture in or creation. And I like to think about it as rather an emergence more than an object that we position in a place. it is surely also this methodology of work have been my inspiration since because of my background as well. So I grew up in Beirut, in the city that has seen itself many times buried, where we will see all these archaeologies coming out and questioning our civilizations and time. So architecture for us is this kind of position between archaeology and the past, between the future, between nature and humanity, and this kind of a complex understanding of these four elements into a simple shape or simple realm, which is space, that allows you to kind of read and feel these different organizations or different dynamics behind our societies. And it's undeniable today that nature is an important part of architecture and of our built environment. We are, rather than being in an Anthropocene period, where more we have to start thinking of human beings as rather a part of this planet and more synergetic with the environment. I will concentrate today on three projects because we have a limited amount of time, and portray in the three projects at the same time very basic ways of, let's say, constructing and somehow almost vernacular, but at the same time also thinking about technology and more an advanced way to adapt architecture to its environment. So the first project is this Estonian National Museum. This is a building that I started my practice with. I have won this competition in 2006 with two other colleagues of mine, and we have established our practice after winning that project. So it is in Estonia and northern Europe. So we are here in Tartu, which is the cultural capital of Estonia. It's a place of manifestation, a place where a lot of cultural production happens. It's also talking about the history of Estonia, about the peasants' culture that is very linked to nature, very linked to the environment, and also in a way trying to create its identity through time, through the collection of objects, of ethnographic objects and popular arts. And the site of that project is just in the fringes of Tartu, with the city center. So we are not very far from the city center, but suddenly we are in an area that is a bit derelict here. And looking into that context, we discovered that there was one of the first museum institutions, Estonian Museum Institution, that was established on the realm of the old noble German noble house that was just on the site here. And digging more into the history of the site, we discovered that there is one of the largest military air bases, Soviet air bases, that was existing on the site. It's dismantled, it's unused. And also it revealed in a way that on that site there was a lot of manifestation that happened for the independence of Estonia, and also revealed the importance of that land as an area of change, as an area that would allow the museum in a way to give another significance and like a new understanding of the history also of Estonia. So the idea was to deal with that history, with that platform that exists, that is disaffected, that basically today was not used as a runway, but to deal with it as an area, as a potential for new activities of a continuous production of identity. So comes the role of architecture here to be beyond just the building that is sitting independent of its context, and to act more as an urban, to have an urban role here, and to link basically the building into that platform instead of just sitting as an independent architecture on the side. So the idea here was to go out of the competition site, which was was a little bit further here in this area, and to come and link that building into this platform, and in that way give architecture another role, which is to reconcile the past with the future, and also to have an almost like an art installation, or like land art, like landscape that could open up the realm of the architecture into the realm of the territory. So starting to imagine also that platform that links to the museum as an appropriation place where artists could make their interventions, where the museum as a national museum becomes an open institution where activities could constantly happen. It's not a fixed identity in space, it's always in movement and in constant recreation. And then that platform started to be by time also with the construction, again the texture of the museum itself. And as we see here, this idea of the archaeology almost emerging from the construction of the building. So the moments of construction of that project almost portrayed a building that has been almost there, that communicated with the context. What we see here also the moments of the first, let's say, stone of the building, where Estonians made the manifestation towards that building, portraying also the importance of that architecture for the national realm and its importance for the country. And here we see the cantilevering space, the entrance of the building that has been tested like the air wings of an airplane. So it is also tested for the snow and the wind load resistance. So also the idea is to bring the history of the site into the shape of the architecture that we are proposing here, or the wing of that entrance parallels the plane and parallels the history of that site. Inside, the space is generous. It's all about also creating spaces that are not always necessarily programmed, where people could meet, where new activities could happen. One of the also interesting bits about that building is that basically a lot of technology has been deployed onto the museum system itself. So the museum institution has won the Hudson Prize for museums 2 years ago, and that's also with the way they museographed all the collection and all the digital approach into understanding the collection. So you see these screens, and everything is displayed on screens. You could basically have the information on your mobile, have an e-ticket to get into that building. So it's highly interactive, and it brings in a way this condition of ethnographic and historical collection into the future as well. So this is also the meeting point between space, physical space, between technology and between history, with this relationship with this platform that becomes open for Estonians to intervene on. This is a view on the upper, from the drone, and we see how this building is starting at 14 meters and just jutting into the landscape. As we talk about climate, here we are on an extreme climate because we are minus 15 in winter time. So the whole building had to be thought of also in a way that it consumes the least energy, that it could be quite insulated from inside. So we have triple glazing, we have a double skin that is all serigraphed with these patterns that portray the traditional pattern of Estonia. But also acts as a shield, as a protector for the building, as almost a blanket also for this, for the inner heart of the building, and reduces the need for climatization. One of the things also of the museum that consumes a lot of energy are the collection and the archiving of the collection. All the collection is being thought of in the underground here, and we used concrete, rock concrete, that stabilizes the humidity and the climate underneath the building, and also lessens basically the amount of energy needed to stabilize the temperature of the conservation. So this project also obliged in a way, because of the climate where it sits on, to be quite frugal in a way and quite thoughtful about the resources and the amounts of energy needed to maintain and to run that building. So the second project I want to show here is a building that I'm leading with my studio in Paris, and this is in France. And this is a project that has been a response to climate change, and more specifically to bring a response to the waste that we have today in the food industry, to think about a new way and a different way to feed ourselves within cities, and to have a rather more sustainable relationship to our environment. So it was a response also for the large competition that the city of Paris has launched, which is the call for innovative projects in the city of Paris. And it was very interesting because here the city came and brought forward a series of sites that are on the fringes of Paris, and put them forward on a competition, asked for architects to come with developers, with a multidisciplinary team, and propose a whole project out of a blank page. So we had to really think about the program, the function, the material, all of the different aspects of a project to make it all coherent. And the idea here was to emerge a tower that is dealing with food and sustainable feeding, and to have a place that, almost like what we see here actually in Bordeaux, that is completely disintegrable. So architecture could become built with resources that are at some point could go back to earth. So it's really about thinking about architecture in a circular economic way. So even also in the way of programming, we're making a project about food. So like here in French, you say alimentation. And it's all about having all the different aspects of the food and sustainable feeding. So a research place, innovation, sharing, and reuse and recomposting of food within that place. So it's a place where we could plant, where we could be cultivate basically and be cultivated, and where everything is based on the circular economy. What we see here is also that even in terms of program and how to put the different programs together, we have thought also of this kind of circular relationship of the spaces, where you would have an urban agriculture on the rooftop, a housing, like a place where we would cook what we plant up there, an interactive canteen, administration, and then again a marketplace, and urban agriculture open for the public, where we recompost the food and feed agriculture. So it's a kind of a microcosm, because it's not a very big also project, it's 1,800 square meters, but it's like a microcosm of life, of mixity, and bringing on a multifunctional development within one place, where all the aspects and the programs could function together. It's constructed in wood. As we see here, there is a school close by that is all in wood, and the idea is to kind of continue that wood and emerge the building in wood also construction. Wood construction in France haven't been used a lot, although France has a lot of resources in wood. So the idea is to bring back that resource basically as a material resource to construct architecture and building, and to use that material that stocks carbon, that reduces our impact of carbon on the environment, It's a wooden structure, and it's also eco-sourced. So all the wood that is used is brought forward from French forest. It allows also to construct a building while thinking about its disassembly. So we assemble, disassemble, and it's a building that could be reused in the future. The material of it is not going waste like concrete. So also in a way, what I was telling about composting and basically planting in that place, and also using the waste, organic waste, to feed again the agriculture. So it also actually forces us to think about our environment in a circular way, to think also about our way of making architecture in a rather ecosystemic way. It's not about anymore drawing a concept and then waiting for the constructor to come and build it, and then the users come and have the space imposed on them. It's really about thinking about all the actors of a project from the beginning and trying to get a coherent construction, function, operation of that building. And here we see the top part of the tower with this agriculture that is installed here, the atelier of like where we learn about what we plant, that the kids start to learn that they have to eat fruits and vegetables in the right seasons. So there's also housing here, so people are able to kind of live with this kind of system of circular economy. So you are also able to have your daily life in that building, a canteen where engaged chefs from the world are invited to come and to basically showcase their knowledge. And no waste food market on the parvis, like on the sidewalk just in front of that building. So this is a project that now is ongoing. It's of course every time we're trying to kind of go out of the box, it takes more time to build. The project is meant to be completed in 2022, hopefully. And this was just for fun, to make a kind of provocation of a building that integrates even animals within itself. Maybe, let's see, maybe it could have at some point animals, but it's also to think of our environment as an integrative one rather than just one for human beings, but it could also have larger than that other parts of the environment. So the last project that, and I think I have 10 more minutes, so here I will present this project in Beirut, and this is in my hometown, so I'm set in Paris in the 11th year, and this project, this is my first tower that I just completed in Beirut. And this is a building that is emerging just along the port area. And if you, I think, followed the news recently, this was the place where the big explosion happened in Beirut. So the building stood nicely. The explosion, of course, all the glass was shattered, but the main shell of the building was holding right. So it's also about talking about the architecture of resilience, how to build basically in that context where we are in Beirut, where there is always constant instability. Also kind of take a position to the urban development of the city that has seen a lot of this kind of high-rise going and more commercial developments, and try to solicit the memory also of the city, the history of Beirut that has been really living a lot of war events. And the site of that project, we are here close to the city center on a site where the first concrete factory has been established. There's this photographer who's a French-Lebanese photographer who inherited this land and came to me asking like, how can we emerge a building here? He also took a lot Beirut during the war. We could see photos of Beirut that he took with Gabriel Basilico and with other very world-known like photographers, and they took that city that is completely destroyed with these textures of the building that looked almost like skeletons. So you could see this kind of texture of building that looked like human beings that are just completely uh, jutted out, all became frail in their skeleton. And you could see also how this ground or this architecture looks like this ground of Beirut. So the idea was to come up with that building that parallels this sites of Beirut, the nature that comes into the ruin and becomes a new shape of life, and kind of create windows that portray the notion of photography, bringing in the city into the realm of the inhabitation, because it's a housing building. And the whole facade was crafted by hand, really bringing back the power of the hand into architecture, its emotional quality, almost like as if we are chiseling the ground and working with it on the facade and making the whole architecture a fertile ground for imagination, a place where we could almost experiment with craft and also integrate nature as part of our language, as part of our habitation. So all these green parts are really integrated within the structure of the building itself, and you could see the city with this filter of nature, like as you see here, basically. So it's not. It's really going out from this box formula of of building and giving more spirit and more narrative in a way to what we build, and having nature as part of the language and part of the environment. Also adapting actually architecture to the climate, because what there was no sense basically to bring a glass building here and just have a fully glazed facade while we are on a Mediterranean climate where the summertime is really heated, and with the climate change it will be even more heated. So it's really creating a building that has more inertia, that has more capacity to keep a better environment within. And that's the end of my presentation, and I think I'm almost on time. So thank you very much for listening, and I open the ground for questions.
Thank you very much for your gentle intervention, because in a time of substantial crisis in the way we are dealing with waste, the climate change, the increased responsibility to the environment need, and the last, it's the COVID crisis. You made a point by explaining how architecture reacting to nature, to place, and to the archaeology of the future may model buildings in which spaces, materials, and selections belong to that place. I would like to congratulate and to share what I wrote down with my hand on a piece of paper whilst your online presentation. I
Thank
said
you.
that maybe all the three designs that you presented, the Estonian Museum and the Tower of Food and the Stone Garden, they all have the quality of being an emerged architecture. It's not an object that shows up. It is an entity that was there always, and it gradually reveals. So I believe that the quality of you and your firm work is that all the buildings have this intensity in presenting themselves to the viewers as being in the place from always. This is a fantastic quality. The second quality, and I encourage all the students in architecture and all the young people, is the questioning. It's not only a questioning of the themes, of the data, of the context, of the tradition. For instance, you won the Estonian Museum competition by questioning the theme. You went outside the theme lot because you wanted to confer meaning to a certain area that would become the entrance platform. And it is very beautiful that you said that it's a shielded blanket that actually unites a highly interactive environment, digitally controlled, with the beauty of artifacts, colors, and objects. So I really thank you, and I have a question which will overpass the difficulty of French and English language, hopefully. In the Masséna Tower in Paris, the positioning was cultiver, se cultiver, which primitively may be translated in growing and self-growing.
Yeah.
And here comes the question. Please name a crucial ingredient for an architect in the process of self-growing.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your words first, because it's very touching, and thank you very much for saying all this so beautifully as well. This is so precious. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. And I think you said it in a way. I think one of the most important, or maybe two most important qualities is, one is questioning. We have to also be beyond all like passionate citizens, I think, and inhabitants, let's say, not only citizens because it's related to the city. I would say inhabitants of that world, passionate, modest inhabitants of that world as well. Really listen to our environment and question it all the time. And another thing that as an architect we are faced with, I think we have to be perseverant as professionals, because it's a profession that asks a lot of complexity from us, asks a lot also of perseverance all the time, to be able to have a vision and try to put it into a realization and drive a whole team around us to believe in it, and to kind of change the status quo according to what we think is a vision to implement. So there's needs always of perseverance, of pushing things and having this patience to draw things in time.
With this, I think that we all may write down or type that Lina's contribution and also conviction to the meaning of advanced architecture, it's to find, defend, and be persistent to an advanced way in which buildings are adapting to environment, such an advanced way that it embodies beauty.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I hope all the sessions will be great. Thank you for this invitation.
Thank you very much. And with the pride of overpassing with only 35 minutes the session, I declare the session closed, and I look forward to meet you all and to smile and to say hello.
Yes, I hope so too.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.